We're also keeping up to date on this disturbing development. ICE is releasing routinely a lot of illegal immigrants. That is nothing new. But those with a criminal background, well, the figures are startling and at least were new to me. 19,000 last year. At least that pays this year. And obviously when they're released, well, they recommit crimes. 2016 Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson on that and what to make of that. We're not deporting anybody, as you know, Governor. And even with the Supreme Court going back and forth on the constitutionality of the president, trying to stall those deportations, now we've got trouble with, I'm sure, a distinct minority, but trouble.
And disturbing. That should be the focus. I mean, look, we don't want criminals in this country.
How does that happen, by the way, where we don't trace those clearly with a criminal background?
Well, right now, what you have is a situation where you can't get across the border, even though there are jobs here in the United States. Make it as easy as possible to get a work visa. A work visa should entail a background check and a Social Security card. We don't want criminals in this country. But right now, you've got the woman that's crossing the Rio Grande with her kids, and ICE is having to round her up as opposed to potentially making it as easy as possible to get across the border with a work visa, so that those would be going across the Rio Grande arguably then are people that need to be apprehended if we're going to make it.
But I would think, you know, Governor, if there's any reason for apprehension or any reason to hold people with any slight infraction on their record, hold them. Don't release them.
I agree. That should be the focus. But what we've got are just stretched resources.
That's
because
what
we're rounding
says.
up.
We are overwhelmed. You keep hearing that we are overwhelmed.
We're overwhelmed with kids and mothers who are just looking to get a job.
And that becomes their priority, right? So they have to weigh that and deal with the kids
and the mothers in lieu of those that really do deserve to be deported. Look, we don't want criminals in this country, but that is the reform that needs to take place, is to identify that. So with regard to continued presence on the border, with regard to people that are crossing illegally, well, how about the notion that if they're crossing illegally, they really do need to be apprehended because it's really easy to get a work visa. Make it easy to get a work visa. And that work visa should entail a background check because we don't want criminals in this country. Regarding the 11 million illegal immigrants that are here in this country right now, look, set up a process where those 11 million can come in the door and get a work visa and grant them that work visa as long as they have not committed criminal activity, making it easier to identify those criminals that are in this country that in fact should be deported.
Donald Trump says build a wall.
That is crazy. Let's just for a second, the Rio Grande River is the border between Texas and Mexico. So, Neil, which side of the border should we build the fence on? The U.S. side or the Mexican side? Well, gee, we can't do either one of those, can we? Because
well, his argument is that
let's build it right down the middle.
Well, we've got to do something because it's something to make it as difficult as possible for people to get in here. Now, we've seen with these sophisticated tunnels, you can go under a wall. But he's obviously made that a central campaign pitch.
Well, and then how about the notion that with the presence that we do, with the border security that we do have, that if you arguably cut down that illegal crossing by 90%, because you're going to make it easy for those 90% that are law-abiding to get a work visa.
And only the bad guys get through.
Well, then now, hey, somebody that's crossing illegally, this may have to do with drugs, drug smuggling, drug prohibition.
I mentioned Trump and this idea that he could be well on his way to getting the 1,237 delegates. And it could happen. But what if he doesn't? I mean, he's always said that it's a rigged system, that is the Republican Party, and they have their favorites, and he's not one of them. He could always make a third-party run.
No, that's something that really...
he'd have to do it by July.
Well, even if he attempted to do it now, he would not be on the ballot in all 50 states.
And the Libertarians he could be.
Well, but he's not going to get the Libertarian nomination, and I've always...
When is your convention, the Libertarians?
The end of May.
So you will have already decided on a nominee.
Already have decided on a nominee.
Hope to be that nominee.
Hope to be that nominee.
What if they hear that Donald Trump's available?
well, then I think Donald Trump would get his head handed to him because he's anything but a libertarian.
Explain.
Well, being fiscally responsible, social... Look, when Donald Trump says, let's deport 11 million illegal immigrants, when he says, let's build a fence across the border, when he says, let's kill the families of Islamic terrorists, when he says he's all about free market, but then in the next sentence he says that Apple should be forced to make their iPads and their iPhones in the United States, libertarians aren't going to buy that.
All right. Governor,
smaller government. Smaller government.
Smaller government. I wanted to talk to you about pot and everything else. We just didn't have the time.
Next time.
Maybe in the next debate. All right. Governor, always good seeing you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.